Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and with just 6 weeks to go before a potential exit from the EU's customs area without a suitable deal, in fact almost certain without a suitable deal, but without any deal at all, we're going to need to return to the issue around the mechanics of trade, as many of the world's major economies are raising the issue with the World Trade Organization to make sure that there's going to be nothing that puts their businesses at a disadvantage. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So we're headed into a bit of an old mess, right? Old mess as things look at the moment. Put simply, so let us assume that we don't agree anything with the EU, other than what has already been agreed as part of the withdrawal agreement, which Johnson isn't even committing to right now. But let's ignore that messy situation for now, it's tangled enough. So let's go over the various antagonistic situations we find ourselves in. So 1, all trade between the UK and the EU will have to follow World Trade Organization rules. That means checks and tariffs. Now, each side is allowed to make the unilateral decision to reduce tariffs down to 0 if necessary, and checks, do whatever it likes. But if it does it for one country with whom it doesn't have an agreement, has to do it for everyone else as well. So the UK may, for example, and the government have talked about this at times, in order to keep the costs of food and medicines down, for example, as well as to be able to rush supplies through without any awkward checks, reduce tariffs, say, to 0. However, we can't just do it for the EU because we don't have an agreement with them. So whatever we do for the EU, we have to do it for everyone. Now, the EU in theory could do the same, but they won't. You know, they're not in the same desperate position that the UK is in, and also it would piss off their closest trading partners with whom they have a fairly substantial network of agreements. And the second antagonistic feature of this is that the UK is not in a position to be able to apply the necessary checks and tariffs to goods from the EU. The systems aren't ready, and they're not going to be ready, and this means that we don't have the infrastructure to follow World Trade Organization rules. In fact, the UK government have indicated that they would like to apply a very light touch to EU trade in order to stop their systems melting down, and they very much hope the EU will do the same. Right, okay. But the problem with that, and I've discussed this before, is so what will other countries have to say about that? They're unlikely to sit on the sidelines if their businesses are going to be put at a competitive disadvantage. And you imagine the scenario, let's say Chinese businesses that currently have to face some tariffs in the UK, or there's some checks, whatever, but it's the tariffs that really deal with the competitive side of things. And they find out that the EU are not having tariffs applied on the same things. No. That's not how it works, son. So, have a look. What is this? Now, there's a report that someone linked me from an Indian-based media outlet. Quite interesting. And it has the news that India, along with a number of other major economies, has lodged concerns with the World Trade Organization about the trading conditions that will apply between the EU and the UK after the end of this year. Now, India is a country that the UK are hoping to enhance their trading relationships with. And so you would think are not going to be keen on annoying them too much. Of course, the price, we all know what the price will be. It will be lots of extra visas for Indian citizens to come over to the UK. I'm sure the Brexiteers will love that idea. But it's not just India raising this concern, it's also Australia, Canada, China, Indonesia, Mexico, New Zealand, Paraguay, Uruguay, and the United States. Now, just picking China and the US out for a moment, because they're the huge economies. Now, I've said on several occasions in the past that if we just try and wave EU goods across our borders because we don't have the facilities to manage the documentation properly, then the US and China would take note. They don't want their businesses to be put at any competitive disadvantage, and, well, no country does, but they won't stand for it. You know, they're not going to allow tariffs to be applied to their exports if the EU get away with it on similar goods without any legal right to do so. If we don't have a deal with the EU, we have no legal right to do that. And never mind the lengthy legal process of the World Trade Organization. I mean, this takes years to resolve anything. Years. China and the United States would feel very strongly about this. Strongly enough to simply take their own unilateral action. We've seen them do this before, with each other, in fact. And if Boris Johnson cocks this up, we'll find ourselves fighting trade wars with China and the United States, which has the potential to be economically devastating. And in the case of the United States, bloody embarrassing for the Brexiteers. I mean, we were going to get this marvellous US trade deal. It was going to be the thing that proved how right it was to leave the EU. No other trade deals, no point, because we can get those with the EU. The tough nut to crack for even the EU is the US. So we get a deal and that's all sorted. Now, we've already pissed off the next president. We're not in any position at the moment without a massive climb down to get that US trade deal. But if we now then have the US engage in a trade war with us, I mean, what value was Brexit? And the article talks about their specific concern here is not so much those tariffs being applied, because that's a totally separate issue. The issue is about they're talking about compensatory concessions being extended to trade partners for the market opportunities lost due to Brexit, it said. So the issue really is related to quotas, because EU quotas are being split up with the UK's exit between the EU and the UK. And it might well be that some businesses, in these countries that are not necessarily complaining but lodging concerns, it might well be as a result of that splitting up the quotas that they are crowded out of the market, that they're not able to export as much as they can now. Because although the sum total of these quotas will be the same, let us say that they exported a particular thing to Germany, say, but the EU's quota has shrunk a bit, maybe there's not enough room for their exports now. That's as I understand it. It's the shrinkage of the quotas in both territories, and the countries mentioned are worried that they could lose access to export markets that, as they put it, they negotiated in good faith. So they negotiated their agreements with the EU at a time which included the UK. We're not out of this just because we left the EU. At a time when they thought, okay, we can do this, our trade will run smoothly. Now, in theory, like I said, this is a concern levelled at both the EU and the UK, because it's possible that these countries, like I said, for some of their businesses, suddenly find themselves unable to export their goods to either territory in the way that they can now. Maybe they were exporting all of a particular good just to the UK, say, and now the quotas shrunk to the point where not enough. But the report did mention that the EU thinks it will have solutions in place for those countries by the end of the year. So they've obviously been working on it, and I suppose you could also argue a larger territory can more easily accommodate this. The quote from the UK was less encouraging. It essentially suggests that we're hoping everything will be all right, without any indication that we've done anything to make it all right. The quote from the EU was, we've been working on this and we think we've got solutions. The UK is, yeah, we'd like to carry on the same basis. You'd like to carry on the same basis. Excellent. So what have you put in place then? Nothing. What are you putting in place? Not a word about that. And then I recalled the statement from Canada, I think it was last week, noting that the UK was struggling to finalise the carryover trade agreement with them due to a lack of capacity in our negotiating teams. And, the British government, Liz Truss on her behalf, said, no, we have the capacity. To which the inevitable question came then, so why haven't you done it? Where is it? And it's another example as well, isn't it, of global interconnectivity, this. Brexit supporters never really got it into their heads that the world is closely connected and you can't just break links with one part of it without actually upsetting everything else as well. They think that refusing a trade deal with the EU just annoys the EU, who they seem to hate for no adequately explored reason. But, the break also impacts on trading arrangements around the world with major economies. Economies that we don't have trade agreements yet, and we would like to have trade agreements, and we're starting off that process by pissing them off and screwing over their businesses if we don't do something. The EU are doing something. They You know, they want to keep their trading partners on side. They want fruitful relationships. We arguably do as well. We just don't care enough to actually do anything to foster those relationships. You know, we're not on anyone's team in 6 weeks' time. And we're going to find ourselves in an aggressively competitive environment. Now, in such circumstances, we can't possibly hope to take anyone on. No chance. So you would think we should at least go to pains to avoid annoying anyone. But it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case anyway. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.